I am your host, Rad, hence the name Fired Up with Rad. And across from me, I have a very special, cool friend, a guest, David Stevens, the fifth,
yeah,
right? And it's H, David H. Stevens.
The H is different. Dad, grandpa, all had David Stevens, first son of the first son of the first son.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 for me, and I have number 6 living at
Here, yeah, your son
my
is
house.
David Stevens, the sixth.
Yeah.
And he goes by DJ?
D-E-E, capital J, because Grandpa Stevens, David, went by D-E-E.
Mm-hmm,
So his name is, he's David Jack, but he goes by DJ, but spelled in homage to Grandpa D, spelled D-E-E.
Which is dad, right?
Which is Grandpa, my grandpa.
Your grandpa, oh, the original.
His great-grandpa.
Oh,
no, there's 2 more ahead of him.
'cause there's 6
my
of
dad's
you.
4, my grandpa's 3, then there's 2 more on top of that.
I see. Okay. Your dad's the 3rd.
No,
No, the 4th, because you're the 5th. DJ's the 6th.
Hey, you're way too rad to
No.
be good at math. It doesn't
Bro,
matter.
I was in special ed, so those
Get
of
you
you
a
out there,
scratch pad.
you're my people, okay? All right? I got you.
My dad was amazing, actually. He taught remedial reading at Kearns High School. And at his funeral, one of the coolest things I ever heard was several of his students showed up because they loved him so much.
Mm-hmm.
But one gentleman took me aside and said, you know why we all loved him so much is when we would show up for our remedial English.
Right, resource.
He said your dad would always have the book that they were reading in honors English on our desks. And invariably somebody would say, this is the wrong class, we're the stupid kids. And my dad apparently would always say, I don't care how long it takes us, we're reading the same thing they are.
Right, you're just going to do this.
It might take us a little longer, but we're going to read the book.
Yeah, that's a
and
really
they
good
did.
way. Yeah, don't.
You guys are just as smart as them. Maybe we just take a little longer to read it.
What a great motivating.
This kid must have graduated 30, 40, 50.
Well, it stuck with him, dude.
Yeah.
You know, like he just kept us the same, equal opportunity, just worked with us a little harder.
Yeah.
That's it. And I was in special ed, so I know what it's like to have extra help on, math
Yeah.
or teaching and reading.
Yeah.
Your dad was like a principal, wasn't he?
He started as a school teacher and then became a vice principal at, I think Westlake Junior High was his first vice principal job, and moved to Benyon where we all went to junior high. In fact, I think Brother Mike was there while he was the principal. I never had him as my actual principal, but he's always buddies
Mike
with
D, though, your
Mike
older
D.
brother, Mike D?
I'm oldest.
Oh, yeah, younger.
Then Mike, who's the responsible,
Jeep.
Well, he's got a real job. He,
Yeah.
he makes a living. He's responsible.
See, so that's my question, right? So your dad, I was kind of getting there, is he was this educator, and, you've kind of fallen in those same lines, because I'll get into that, but did you think you were going to get into being an educator like your dad, or how did you wind up becoming an actor? Because we're going to dive into you being an actor, bro. That's what's up. That's why.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll get there. I always thought that I'd be an educator. I don't know. I think it's kind of natural for. What am I in Utah?
You are.
Is that how I talk?
Yeah, we're in the mountains. Let's go
I
eat.
just cut myself. I think it's natural for a kid looking up to his dad to want to follow in his footsteps. But I also think that I have a natural gift for teaching, because I love to both impart wisdom as well as learn from the teaching experience, as well as try as best I can to improve my teaching ability along the way. I think that's what, a teacher who cares and a teacher who also has a knack for teaching and then gets better at what they do. It's a good teacher.
Especially if they might be passionate about the field as well,
Certainly.
right? So if you're really good at that, and then you just want to kind of give that off to everybody else,
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you do that. Aside from being an actor, you have an acting class that you work with.
I've always, I was told by a karate sensei a long time ago that to reach the highest degrees of black belt, a lot of disciplines require that you teach, because there's a kind of learning that takes place while teaching that only the masters, if you want to really move past expert into mastery, there's certain things you can only learn by teaching it. And so I thought, well, martial arts and creative arts, they're all arts. I thought that made sense for me. And so I started teaching because I wanted to get better at what I do, and I found out that I loved it to go along with it.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like the student who thinks he's the master, and the master who still sees himself as the student. It's like when you think you hit it, you've probably not. There's
Absolutely.
so much more. So the master would never per se call himself a master. They'd
Right.
just always be the student of the
Right, which is inherent in the nature of a master to
yeah
think that way. I think.
right, and that's right.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like acting and working on the craft, you're always trying to push yourself and attain, just training, just making yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you have to if you do something on a consistent basis, it becomes part of who you are that you're making. It becomes second nature, so that you can just exist and be doing amazing, wonderful things that other
Right.
people can't believe.
They're mesmerized.
How could you ever be great at that?
Right.
Well, my first formal acting coach, my first acting coach was my mom. She used to write and direct road shows for the church. Mm-hmm. And so I'm convinced she had Nate because she needed an extra cast member.
She was like, I need to fill this part. In 6 years, he'll be old enough, and we're going to win that tournament.
So she was my first acting teacher, and she was a wonderful actor herself. But when I went to Cottonwood High School, Joan Hahn was this woman that had won. She had taken no less than first or second at state in like 30 years or something, and had won region for 25-something years in a row. And she was when I really was taking it seriously, she was. There were teachers before that. I don't want. I mean, if my junior high teacher listens and she's like, "Well, I taught you some stuff."
Yeah, right. You did.
I learned stuff along the
Sure.
way. But the greatest lesson I think I ever learned from Joan Hahn, I said, I think I really like this. What's your best advice for me to find what can I do to do it all the time?
Right.
She said, that's it. Do it all the time. I said, what do you mean? She said, get on set, get on stage.
Just do it.
Do it as often
Yep.
as you can. Get on the stage, and you'll figure it out. You're good at it because you love it. You love it, you'll get better at it.
Yep.
Get on the stage.
Yep. Find your way. Get in it. Just get in it. Like, be the grip. Be hands-on. Get on set. Just somehow get in it.
All those things are excellent points for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's what I mean as far as like the experience of acting and acting and acting and acting and doing it and doing it and doing it. Same way Steph Curry shoots free throws and
over and over and over and over again.
From all different places on the court. He's constantly working on something that he's already good at. Mm-hmm. And there's no greater place to work on it than when the stakes are really high. Like an audience is there wanting to. They left their homes. They put on something nice. They probably got a babysitter. They probably have spent some money on some dinner, and you're the entertainment. And it's not important to get the applause because, hey, look at me and how great I am. They came to see a show, mm-hmm. And so it's a bit of an obligation, a welcomed obligation, to give them the best that you can give them. And the only way that you can give them that best is to be good at it. How can you be good at it? Do it a lot.
Right. Do it a lot. Right.
And if you can't get on stage, go to class. If you can't go to class, talk to the mirror.
Right.
But do it.
Right. Right. And if they're not casting you, cast yourself in your own, like I've done my own videos where I've just recorded myself over and over doing different things and just different takes of the different dialogues and just practicing auditioning techniques.
You're absolutely right, but it's also the same as with what you do as your other profession.
Yeah, my war games.
I've seen you grab a weapon off the shelf.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, hey, this is where we actually have a couple of these. We're going to give them away at a great price. Look what it can do. Boom, 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 boom. And just kill the bullseye.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're the guy who's the boss who's like, hey, I'm telling everybody how to do it. You're the guy who's the boss who's doing it.
That's correct. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like to pull from the front with my men the same time.
The best leaders in the world pull from the front.
And I like to eat with them at the same time too, and like make sure everybody has food. And that's the kind of attitude I want you to eat, and then let's get the job done.
Yeah, and you're out front doing it.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And we've been on set together. From you. Lining up like No Dogs Allowed back in the day, saying, "Hey, Rad, come out here, let's get on set." And that was my boot camp.
Yeah, it was a boot camp for me too.
It was, dude.
I was ADing, like I was first assistant director, a grip like everybody else.
Grab the ladder and just hold this mic, Radel, and I'm like, "Yeah, I got this." Like the next thing you know, it's just
Joe Osborne, Joe Osborne, man.
Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, he provided a playground.
Yeah, he did. He really had like a little studio going on.
It was
where,
fantastic.
Yeah, chasing the sun.
Yeah.
Out into the desert.
Died in a motorcycle accident.
No helmet.
He had found a way to enjoy his life, and he went out, I think, way too soon.
Yeah, I agree.
Way too soon. But he went out doing something that he had found a deep love for.
He did.
And there's a lot of worse ways to go out.
At his, funeral, there was plenty of bikers around and motorcycles to help take him to where he was going to finally rest. And his son Zach gave him a shout out.
Heartbreaking and beautiful all at the same time.
It is. It's true. It's true. But I mean, if it wasn't for him believing in me to give me a role opposite with you in the van, and just believing in that, I couldn't agree more with just like going after the craft and just acting all the time. But you have just seemed to have been doing it. I met you when you had already like done Substitute 3 with like Treat Williams, right? Yeah. And if I think you say like, hey, you want to conjugate some verbs, Professor? Huh? What's like up? That. Like, Yeah. I know, huh? Yeah. I love it, right? I mean, these things that stand out to me, I am a huge fan.
I got that job because of another job. Do you have actors that listen to this podcast?
I do, yeah, for sure.
You do great work all the time, and you act like a professional all the time. You never know who's watching.
No.
And I got a call and said, "We don't need you to read for this. This is going to air on Showtime." It was a big deal for me, Substitute 3, an actual studio produced picture.
We don't need to audition.
And
it's
said,
like
we don't need
to
audition.
it.
She said, "You want it? You got it. We're gonna." I hadn't met the director until I showed up my first day. Cut to my first day. I'm a young actor. I'd only been doing it for a few years professionally. I've been doing it my whole life, but I'd only been doing it for a few years professionally. Cut to my first day. I'm supposed to be on set at 6 a.m. My alarm went off at 6:45.
Oh, yeah.
I woke up in a panic. First thing I did, make a phone call to the person who had contacted me, which come to find out is the second AD, which is who always when the staff is full, the second AD will call you. A lot of times it's just like somebody's buddy, but
No, yeah, right. Like if it's an indie film, it's like, hey, it's Radel calling. You coming, Dave? Yeah, I'm on my way.
But it's a second AD, and everybody's got their job to do. And I called him and I said, dude, I'm sorry, blah, blah, car trouble, and the dog ate my homework, and I'm on my way. And I hadn't even auditioned to get the role. Nobody knew really, like, is this guy legit or not? And I got there, and I'm in the makeup hair trailer, and they had to, call an audible and shoot another scene, and
they're lined up. They're storyboarded. They're like doing it.
You've got 1,000 people who show up before call time, before time, so that we can work like clockwork to get this day done. One
cog out of that wheel, that system,
that whole thing spins out of control.
Yeah.
So I get there. I'm in the makeup trailer. We're getting me ready for the thing. The director, his name's not coming to me right now. So long ago. It's I'm sure it's on my resume somewhere. But
sure, we can look that up.
He comes to me and I love him. He said, "Hey, relax. I know you're stressed out about this. We're gonna make through this day. Calm down. Let's. It's gonna be okay." They got me through it. I went and they did a scene where I have to ride this motorcycle. Anyway, we get to lunch. And I see the producer sitting at a table, dialing on his phone. And I know I got to apologize. And I walk over, and I said, Terry. His first name was Terry. I don't remember his last name either, but his first name was Terry. I said, Terry, can I interrupt? I know it looks like you're making a phone call. Can I interrupt for a second? He said, all right, hold on a second. What? I said, I want you to know how bad I feel. I am sorry. I know I acted like an amateur, but I promise you I'm a professional. I promise you I can do this job. I promise you I'm ready to go for this job. Please don't judge me by that one mistake. I promise you'll not regret it if you forgive me for this. He said, cancel that. I was recasting you.
Oh, really? Right there on the spot, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What a great lesson
yeah,
for me,
but
though.
what a good
you
thing.
Make a mistake.
Karma. Yeah, you
make a mistake. You got to
own up to it.
Own up to
yeah,
it,
you
man.
Did.
Man up. Woman up, whatever.
Yeah, so that might not have, because he was just like.
And that led to a lot of other jobs.
Sure.
It built my confidence. It showed, and I had the first time I ever had 50 people hanging out with me at my brother's house watching a movie I was in.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and it sent me on this trajectory of where I want to go with my life.
Showtime.
I very well could be, I very well could be.
Then did you do, okay, so I know like we're talking Substitute 3, but didn't you do The Crow or A Crow? Was that after The Substitute?
It's so long ago. What does
I
it
know.
say?
Let me see. Are we looking at
Does
something?
it come before or
dude.
after? It's go down a little bit. It's down low. I started to run out of space, so a lot of stuff has to come. It looks like Crow was maybe before it.
Oh, Crow Salvation supporting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, let's see here.
There's a
Look
lot
at your
on there.
resume.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's not on there.
I would imagine keeping them up to date. Punch Drunk Love. I did interview your brother on an episode previously, and we talked about what it was like to work with, on that set. Some of the
best
biggest
that
talent
ever
ever.
have done it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
like
the producers,
Paul
the
Thomas
director,
Anderson,
the actors,
right?
The cinematographer, Bob Ellsworth. Even the grips were like the highest working. Not even the grips. Like they're critically important to a movie.
100%. Yeah.
They're not the famous types. They're not the ones you've heard of. Everybody on those sets. Yeah, man, they're the best in the business.
That was awesome.
From job 1 to job 1,000, the best you can get.
Right, and that's a great movie as well. We were talking about Punch Drunk Love, and I would encourage you to check that out and just watch it as a nice art piece. Are any of your sisters in that?
Yeah, there's a scene that takes place at our parents' where we grew up in Kearns. They have a scene. A lot of the movie they filmed us for weeks and weeks because we were like the second storyline.
Yeah.
And when Paul decided that he wanted to make it a 90-minute comedy, he realized he had to let a lot of the brothers go.
Sure.
So, but we filmed a lot more than that actually made the movie. So the experience for us was great. The exposure after it came out was like, we didn't all that great work, not in the movie. Mm-hmm. Whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, there was a scene where at the actual house where we grew up in Kearns, they rented it from our parents and moved big. If you've ever seen a big movie in town,
yeah,
20,
the whole street,
20 trucks. They took up the whole church parking lot and the whole up and down the street. And anybody in the neighborhood is like, "Oh, sure, your boys are actors."
Yeah, right.
Like, "Oh, those boys are."
You guys brought Hollywood to your.
And they came in and they rented out my mom and dad's house. And you asked a different question, and I'll get to it.
No, that's fine.
One of the coolest things, though, is when I asked, I don't remember, all 4 of us asked, or it was all myself, Mike, Jim, and Nate were all in it. I don't remember how it came up that we asked Mom if Paul Thomas Anderson could use her house. She said, "Well, I've seen some of his movies, and I will let him use the house as long as he promises 2 things: don't swear and don't smoke." Mm-hmm. He's a chain smoker. I don't know if he is anymore. Mm-hmm. He was, just.
But then he was like,
and he swears like
a sailor.
A sailor.
Yeah.
He's, it's like every 3rd word. And I remember him promising me, looking me in the eye, and said, "I won't do either one of those things. Thank you for getting me this house because this is where I want to shoot."
Right.
And he didn't. Not a single cuss word was heard in the house. Not a single puff of smoke. Apparently, out in the garage where he set up the video cam.
It was his escape haven out there. Yeah, exactly.
But so we had a family barbecue.
Yeah.
And so older sister Jen, she's the oldest of the group.
And this was filmed for the movie.
It's all filmed for the movie, right, where the brothers are hanging out at their family house on a barbecue weekend.
Right.
When sister Ashley Clark,
she's in it.
She's in it. She says, "You got to hire my brothers." She comes over to our family house. She's our sister, and to basically say, to recruit us to come do this job. For Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. And so she shows up during a family barbecue.
Sure.
And so all the girls are in it. A lot of their kids are in it. Mike's kids are in it. Family, all big family barbecue.
And it really is. And what a great way to immortalize everyone. I
got in big trouble. Paul had a habit of thinking people could read his mind, and he had never told all my family, the 15 of them behind me at the table, what to do. And then he went out to Video Village in the garage so he could smoke and cuss.
Right.
And I heard rolling, and my sister, Jen, older sister, said, "Dave, what are we supposed to do?" And I turned and said, "Just do whatever you would do at a family barbecue, just quietly. Like,
Yeah, like
just don't talk.
Yeah,
because
right,
there's
exactly.
dialogue scene going to happen, but just do it. Pass food around, serve each
Here's the
other up,
cup.
do
Right,
what you
the
would
food.
do exactly. Just don't even think about the cameras.
Right, exactly.
And I directed them on how to be great background actors. And apparently he lost his mind. He thinks he's directing my movie.
Oh yeah, huh?
And it was weird because he never was nice to me again. Like, it was like, that guy thinks he's directing my movie.
Oh no.
And maybe I just imagined it because it got back to me. He's like, dude, he was pissed at you.
That you just gave them some
That I
direction.
directed them in his movie.
So he just wanted them to be blind in the scene.
He's so brilliant. I think he just thinks, these guys know what I'm thinking. This is simple stuff. Of course they know. I don't have to tell them. I don't know what he's thinking.
Right,
You know?
right. Hey, what so you go from Adam Sandler and then work with Paul Thomas Anderson, and then you became, I think I have a picture of it. So you play Jesse James.
Yeah.
Right? Let me bring that up. Do we have a picture of that we can look at, Zach? Let's see. That's not Jesse. There's Jesse. Right?
That's Jesse James before he was notorious Jesse James. He's come home from the Civil War, and the Confederacy is lost, and he's coming home to see all the destruction and the farmhouses burnt
Yeah.
and the families that he once knew gone. And
What's the
destroyed.
blood? Why is there blood? What's the blood?
He's been wounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just come out of a military hospital.
So Jesse James is a veteran.
The end. Excuse me. Oh yeah, he fought as a 15-year-old with Bloody Bill Anderson, and saw some of the most gory war
At such a young age, too.
at a young age. That it was. When I stepped in to play him, I absolutely gave that the credence I think it deserves. That it affected him in a way that when you become accustomed to that kind of common everyday violence, and it becomes
The norm.
and that's the only way to survive. I think that's part of the reason why he was able to be so vicious while at the same time a family man, while at the same time a good man.
Well, he just kind of probably didn't have a qualm to drop a guy. It's he had already been in the situations far.
Early on, he would drop you if he thought that you had wronged him or hit. Like he executes a guy in a bank because he thinks that he mistakes him for the guy who he thinks killed his friend Bloody Bill Anderson.
In the trench,
And
right?
so he executes him in the bank because you don't get away with that.
So you feel that a lot of Jesse James has like this overlay post-traumatic stress from the war.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Then every time he's looking and he's getting mad, it's like maybe something just unstable with him because of the war.
Yeah, and on top of that, a very deep spiritual. His dad was a preacher,
Right.
You know, he's connected to both the most horrible types of creatures that walk the earth and the most wonderful.
It's like he's heaven and hell together.
All in one person.
Yeah, all balled up, and he's
you
just
don't want to cross him.
No.
but he'll make the best friend you ever had.
right.
And
But he becomes
he became greedy.
Right.
He became
an outlaw.
an outlaw. He started to like the fame. He started to enjoy.
Oh, you think you can catch me?
Yeah, and it changed.
yeah.
It went from this is the right thing to do to I think it changed to, power. I can't, I've never had like a ton of it, but what you hear.
Right, exactly. And so if you were, so has this already, it's already aired? This has already been out there for a little bit?
Yeah, years ago. It was on AMC.
AMC.
Yeah, the same channel that had just recently had all the super high acclaim for Breaking Bad.
That's right.
AMC, one of the greatest off network channels.
Well, bro, it's American Movie Channel, right?
But they put out that their original programming is brilliant. That their executives are very attentive to the work. The show was originally, I don't remember how many years it came out. 3, 4,
Maybe
5. I don't know.
Is it that old? Really? See,
Yeah, it's been a while. Time flies, bro.
Yeah, I guess it does, huh?
They were going to do it on a different channel, and then AMC got behind it, and Robert Redford got behind it, and they put it on hold because they wanted to really make sure that it was the best that it could possibly be. It's
Right.
an original genre, the docudrama that Stephen David Entertainment created. I don't know of any other groups that had done it before. Maybe there might be some now, to where you really get cinematic type narrative sequences intercut with documentary type interviews of experts in the field to carry the story along. So instead of it being 10-year story that takes 10 years to tell.
Right.
It's a 10-year story that takes 8 hours to tell.
Right.
They did it over 8 weeks. They
Right.
did eight 1-hour episodes.
Right, of different. Now, how many Jesse James?
Jesse was. I got to start off the whole thing in episode 1, and I didn't die until episode 8.
Oh, that's good.
They moved on to all kinds of different iconic characters during the time. Billy the Kid and Wyatt Earp and Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse and General Custer.
Yes.
And then all the main characters that surround those guys as well got storylines. Like, you interviewed Nate. Robert Ford was a really important storyline as you neared the end of Jesse's story. Robert and Charlie Ford stepped in to really
take on that rest of the show
as they showed.
And that's Nate Stevens, and we did do a podcast that you can check out. Just go look it up on Fired Up with Rad. It's one of our episodes. But
everybody listening's probably already listened to it, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they would have by now. Yeah, because it's now your turn. You're David.
Well, you did the right thing, man. You get the best one on first, people are going to pay attention.
I thought that out very carefully.
You bring me in later. And
yeah.
I guess we'll listen to.
Well, you got to have a cleanup
guy.
hitter. You got to have the cleanup hitter coming in. You see, you bat fourth for a reason, bro.
Yeah. Well, Nathan, when he, because not only are we brothers, but Robert Ford was. It was recorded that he he really loved Jesse, but for whatever reason, he had made this decision. Maybe it was greed. Maybe it was fear.
Maybe it was like to just end it for Jesse.
Who knows why he made the decision? But it was known that he and Charlie both really loved Jesse, and then of course Nate and I are very close. We've been very close our whole lives. Worked together many times. A lot of directors, screenwriters will tweak the story to make us related somehow when they cast us both, because we generally get cast.
In movies together, yeah.
So they'll make a family tie-in, but when Nate, the day we shot that scene, Nate was on edge and I was on edge, and we had to kind of keep away from each other to keep, so there wasn't that familial like powwow buddy love. It was just more like there was a tension that was happening, and it was a palpable tension from the second we showed up to set. The director even took me aside and said, "What's wrong with everybody today?" I said, "I think everybody feels what's going to happen today, man."
Yeah, I
said, "I know I do."
Yeah.
And when Nate put that first bullet in the back of my head, the very first time that they actually covered it, he lost his mind. It hurt him so deeply
to shoot his brother,
because Nate's the kind of actor that really,
he's all in.
He's all in.
Yes.
He believes what's happening.
He even said that
as good as anybody that
100%.
I've ever worked with in my entire life. And when he pulled that trigger, he not only killed Jesse James, he killed his brother.
Right.
And he lost his mind, and sobbing and crying, and everybody on the set was like heartbroken. And I remember the director came over and put his arm around him and gave him a big hug and said, "Nate, that was so good. I'm going to need you to do it far less good than that."
Stop.
No, I'm not joking.
Yeah, he's like,
we can't. That's not
far less good. Oh, jeez. He's like, can you just bring that down a notch, dude?
Yeah, you gotta bring it
down
back up, because that was too painful.
Yes,
it was way too
He's
much.
Like, how do I?
Not too big, not too overactive.
No, I know.
Just too much.
Right.
I can't take it.
Can you just do that less better?
And Nate's like, "I'm not sure I know how to do that." But
it's like just Olympic style in the back of his head, and walk away, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know if you're. I'll tell you.
Tell me. Yeah. Tell me. Someone out there, Dave, is truck driving across this land, listening to this podcast. Tell the story.
I love truck drivers.
We love truck drivers. That CDL means the world.
They get that stuff where it needs to go.
It does. Thank you.
And I'm
Commerce.
thankful that I get paid to do it too.
Thank you, Eisenhower,
for money for my kids.
The freeway system for our trucks to travel.
Yeah.
Right. I realize that I'm in the way of a truck driver.
Yeah, man, let them over.
Yeah, I am in the way.
Let
little
the
roller
trucker
skate.
in. Let them over.
Yes, give them
Don't
the right of way.
flip them off when they can't move. They can't move over. They can't move over.
No.
I can't drive your car for you. That's what I'd like everybody who's watching and listening to understand about big trucks. I can't drive your car for you. You got to do it. Drive it.
Drive it
faster than me.
Give the truck the flashing lights. Let them know they can get over.
Yes.
Communicate.
Get out of my way. One of my favorite things to do in a big truck, I'll put on my signal with plenty of time. I've got to get over. I've got to get over.
Right.
And I'll put on my signal. And you'll see the ones who see it, and they'll just kind of hover in your blind spot, and they're thinking, am I going to go? Am I not going to get out of his way? And I'm running out of time.
Yes.
And I'll just really slowly start to merge.
And just say,
I don't come into their lane.
Yeah.
I don't drift them or anything. I'll just slowly come into their lane, and you'll see the look on their face like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you're gonna if you don't let me over.
And then I never really come over till they move, but it's my favorite thing to see the look on their face when they're like, he's coming over whether I'm here or
yeah,
not.
right. So yeah, dude, there's plenty of people out there that's gonna be listening to us, Dave. So tell me, what's that story that you have?
They hired me to play Jesse James, and he's the number one on the call sheet. Meaning he's like, it's like they really they make sure that whoever's going to be the top leads, they've really got to vet them. They really got to make sure that this person can carry the show.
Yes.
And there's a whole bunch of stories I'd love to tell you, but we'll be here till next Tuesday if I tell you all the stories. But I got cast. Thankfully, some people fought for me, including it doesn't matter. Some people fought for me, and I got there. And I went in to rehearse with the producer, the director X, Johnny X, who's a director, but he directed second unit, not like an assistant director, but like a second director.
Right. He is a director, but there's A team.
There's an A team
and a B team,
and we call it the X team. A team and X team.
Sure.
And so and that was it. The two directors and the producer, the big boss producer. They came in and we rehearsed and we were loving it, and everybody, it was great. We ran through a dozen of the scenes that were gonna happen throughout the show, and hugs and kisses. Yeah, this is gonna be. We're so glad you got you as playing Jesse J. Me too, man. I'm super happy. And then I smoked at the time, and I've almost 3 years now giving it up.
Oh, congratulations, by the way.
It feels great. I feel fantastic. And I was outside they had this big giant rehearsal tent, and I'm outside having a smoke, and 15, 20 minutes later, the director and Stephen David and Johnny X come walking by, and Stephen says, "You ready?" I said, "For what?" He said, "To rehearse." I said, "What did we just do?"
Yeah.
He said, No, look, an army of execs from all the different production companies, from AMC, all the shot callers.
Wow.
A line of 20-something people coming from their various places to this big tent to see if this Jesse James is going to be acceptable for their show. And I'm sure if you talk to any other actor who's been in this position, it's an intimidating, daunting moment. And they walked by me. They all got inside, and I said, "I'll be in when I'm done with my smoke." I'm Jesse James, right?
Yeah.
I'm outside. My knees are like,
yeah, dude.
And this thought crossed my mind: you gonna be a bitch, or you gonna be Jesse James? And I knew I had a decision to make. I was still auditioning. This job wasn't mine, and I had to take this job if I was gonna be able to play Jesse James.
Right.
I put out my smoke, and I said, because usually I put in a lot of time with my research. I didn't have a lot of time. I got cast, and then pretty much right around the corner was like, get out to West Virginia. And I said, "Hey, Jesse, want to help me?" Went into the tent. Before anybody could say hi, I robbed everybody in the room. I took watches. I took wallets. And I did the big train robbery scene.
To them.
Awesome.
And David Stevens.
By the time I was done, there were either like looks of shock or smiles or people shaking their head like, what just happened? And then I sat down and said, "So you guys want to rehearse or what?" And they said, "No, we don't need to anymore. Thank you."
Huh.
Come to find out, I didn't realize he said yes. I shot for 2 months. I shot for a month in Virginia. Then they sent us back here to Utah. I shot another month in Utah. When I finished, it was effortless, bro. I'm telling you, I've never felt a more effortless performance. Like it just
came to you.
I was connected. I was connected in a way that was.
There was a peace of mind with it too, bro. You're on set. You're locked in.
And I'd promised Jesse that I would treat his story with respect and not stereotype, not rush to judgment, but to really see if I could tap into what he might have the best I could, just at least to try to make sense of what his fight was.
Right.
And he informed me along the way. And when I was done, I got home. My wife, Shalise, we're no longer together now, but she's always been a wonderful, supportive. She really gets me as an artist. And she said, usually when you get done with the show, it takes you a week or two to return to Dave. She said, you've been home for a month, and you're not back.
Yeah, still kind of.
And I didn't understand what she meant, and I was in my Jeep, and I was driving down the freeway, and it hit me. I never said thank you and goodbye. So I took a moment and I said, Jesse, thank you. I know you helped me. I felt you there the whole way. Part of why that stressful day when he got shot was so stressful, I could hardly even sit still because I think both of us were nervous.
Right.
I mean, he experienced it. And now he had to experience it again with somebody who I told you about, Nate, who's going to bring it like it's happening.
Right.
And he was nervous too. But anyway, I said, thank you. I need you to go. I got to get back to my life. And I swear to you, bro, I got this rush, this hug, this deep bone-crushing, I love you hug.
Yeah.
It held for a while, and then this giant grin came over my face that I couldn't get off my face, and this whoosh. And I drove down the highway, down I-15, towards downtown. It must have been 4 or 5 exits, just like grinning like I've never grinned before.
Relief or like happiness.
Then one more whoosh, hug, whoosh, and he's been gone ever since.
Just like that. I mean, not just like that, but I get it. It's like,
and I was back to normal, and I got and I was like, okay, Dave's back.
Okay,
now.
note to self. Okay, commit to your part. Note to self. Say thank you to those that allow you to be the part.
Whether it's really
Yes.
what's really Jesse, or other times it'll be. I know it was.
Sure.
But also there's times when it's not. Someone like that might not be interested, or it's the the muse and all her many angels that are informing you. There are forces that want the creative that want the creatives to be masterful, and they'll inform your performances if you allow it.
Right. No, that's awesome. And you can hone on that by going to the gym, which is class, and just like getting into class or just maintaining that craft bearing, right? Just always trying to pursue it. I remember a coach, Greg Haynes.
Yeah.
Gregory. Actors Gang. What's up? And he would say, are you the kind of actor that just rushes from your office with your headshot in your file cabinet drawer real quick because you're like trying to rush it, or you putting something into it a little more than just saying you're doing it? Right? It's like, where is it at? And also he always just said, don't fake the funk. Like, don't bullshit. Come in with it, or don't come at all. It's like, why are you here? You're wasting my time. Yeah. We're trying to hone the craft and like work on it and not mock anything and just try to like grow from it. And if you're not even going to bring it, well, why are you even in here?
Yeah. You're wasting all those of us who really are taking it seriously time. Now, there are some group environments where just going in and having fun is the point of it. And a lot of those actors in those kind of groups don't need to have the aspirations of becoming a high-level professional working actor. There's still great fun to be had, and not just fun. Definitely fun. They call it a play.
Right. It's playing. Yeah, it's a play.
The name of it is a screenplay, a stage play.
Right.
You go and get on the stage and you put up a play.
Right.
My daughter just did
a play.
In 6th grade, she got to play Titania from Midsummer Night's Dream. And then Juliet dropped out because her family unexpectedly had to move. She took on Juliet as well. And as she's preparing all of this, I kept reminding her, Danny, remember, it's a play. It's a play. And when she finally went up and performed it, and I saw her enjoying herself so much, and she came off stage at the end and gave me a big hug and said, Daddy, you were right. It was so fun.
It's a play.
I just went up and played, and it worked. It's just a play. And that's experiencing that. Whether it's my daughter or whether it's somebody else in the class, or experiencing that and then going into your life, letting yourself play, letting yourself think creatively and differently, that often is what it is for also. It doesn't just have to be a professional actor. If you're going to be a professional actor, get in there and do your thing and really bring it. Right,
exactly. And another thing that was always said is you're good enough as you are.
Absolutely.
Like anybody, really, if you want to pursue it, that's another thing.
You're not practiced and skilled enough as you are.
Right. But you yourself.
You need to do all that to prepare.
To hone it, to work on it. Start working on memorization, start working on those types of things. But you
don't got to be Brad Pitt to be Aaron Radel. You got to be Aaron Radel.
To be Aaron Radel. Exactly. And David Stevens to be David Stevens.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's exactly right. You and your own skin is beautiful. I told this young man that has cerebral palsy, right?
Yeah.
He'd come up to me and I was like, I could put you in a movie. He's like, what? What movie would you put me in? I was like, well, let me think here for a second. Now I got to come up with something.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd put you in a trench, firing out of the trenches,
Yeah.
firing in a battle. All of a sudden, a couple mortars come into your area. And then next thing you know, you got to recover from said injuries. And then that's why you'd be on your crutches trying to get back and around. He's like, oh, yeah, dude.
Great.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
And
well, that's smart of you too, though. I mean, if you're gonna make a film and utilize people's individual
uniqueness,
circumstances, that's great. That's great.
It's true. That's a conversation I had with this young man, Eric, and just because I have guys that go boxing and they box in London, and there's no legs. He's got no legs. Got blown up by an IED in Afghanistan on a mission. He's British, and then we bring over other amputees or disabled in the wheelchair, and then they box each other as well.
Wow.
So I mean, like, they don't want to ever hear that they can't, right? They're
because it's not true.
No, and
they can.
No, and they want to walk out. They have like their prosthetics, and everyone's like, "You'll wheel you out through the boxing curtain into the boxing ring." It's like, "No, mate, I'm gonna walk out, huh?" And he comes walking out with his, legs, and that's what's up, no legs, and all you guys out there that go to the adaptive boxing fighters in England, I'll give you a shout out for sure. So I think I'm going over there in November to host another boxing event, and it's the SAS British versus the Navy SEALs or Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And then they battle for charity, for veterans awareness and homelessness.
Right.
All positive things. It's like what Jesse James should have had was a support system that could have helped him to recover, dude.
He needed a therapist.
As a veteran, who had been through so much at such a young age and seen so much death and bloodshed, and he's like, why did I live?
Yeah.
I think that when I see a lot of these or hear these stories, it's like, why me? Why did I live out of all of my 13 guys that didn't?
Yeah, survivor's remorse, I think that's called, right?
Right, and I think Jesse might. Well, the way you played it, it made me feel like he might have had that. Like, I have no cause to live kind of vibe.
But that's what I meant, is I played him like a human. I played him like someone who would have been deeply affected by the fact that he cared about his friends.
Right.
That he, that feeling of I wasn't good enough to save you. I wasn't good enough for us to win so that we could all walk home victors.
Right, and you're just walking. It's almost like you're walking down the road like, what can stop me?
Yeah.
Or something should stop me.
Well, and that's part of what he did is he continued, but we're back on Jesse James.
Yeah, I mean, really.
He continued the war. He said, just because you guys declared yourselves winner doesn't mean this war's over. It's not over to me.
That's what I'm saying. It just always was within him. He is always at war. That's crazy. Yeah. Let me see here. Let's see. We're doing pretty good on time. I know that we've got about 5-10 minutes left to wrap, bro. And I want to ask you, did you go over to New Zealand?
Yeah.
What'd you go to New Zealand for?
What a great phone call, man. The director that directed the American West, the Jesse James Project. It's kind of arrogant to call it the Jesse James Project, right?
No, it's fine. West, the David Stevens Project. Are you directing this now?
Yeah. There's no other actors in it, actually. I play everybody.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I loved the phone call. He called and said, how's your passport? Hey, that's not how he talks, but that's how they talk over there. No, that's not even right. How's your passport? I was like, what do you mean, how's my passport? It's good. It's always good. It's like, how do you feel about Andrew Jackson? What do you mean, how do I feel about him? I don't know how I feel about him. He's like, well, how do you feel about playing him? I was like, this sounds to me like you're asking me to, like, maybe you got something coming up. He's like, not only do I have something coming up, if you say yes,
it's yours.
You're playing the part.
What's up?
He said, there's you and a small other handful of people. It came up rather quickly at the office, and we got a green light on a project to play this one was called The Men Who Built America, Frontiersman.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 2 or 3 other sequences that take that tell the story of other prominent figures of the time. But this one with Andrew Jackson and Kit Carson and Lois and Clark. Lois and Clark?
Lois and Clark. Yeah, Lois and Clark is Superman.
So a bunch of that group, he said, yeah. So we sat down around a table and we all tossed out It's like we got to audition so many people. Let's just lock ourselves in with the actors we trust. So let's go around the table and just throw out names.
Yeah, Dave Stevens.
And
imagine that's me, Dave Stevens.
The director said, just so you know, this is what happened. Like, I only say this because it feels great. I hope it doesn't sound like
no, it's great. I want to. No, this is.
He said, all right, I'll go first. Andrew Jackson. What about David Stevens?
Yep.
He said, everybody went, yep. Next.
Yep.
And that was it. And I was cast.
Yep.
And so I got on a plane and got to go out again with Nate. And Nate played Kit Carson, another one of the main,
characters in
critical.
He's the cover. We when we did his episode, did his episode. We the same thing we did with you up here.
Yeah.
We pulled that up as well and show him off. And we love Nate.
The guy who played Billy the Kid played Meriwether Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who played my brother Frank James in this one came out and played Clark.
What a great little SEAL type team that you guys still kept together to go and do these pods.
Yeah. And so we when we were making the American West, we lived in this hotel for a month together, all of us, and we had the second floor balcony that we just
had.
We called it the porch.
Yeah.
Every night after filming, we'd all get together, bring whatever beverage you like, and we'd all congregate on the porch and just carry on with it and just build bonds.
Sure.
Most of that group, not all, most of that group, though, we found ourselves at another hotel just in New Zealand, like keeping the porch alive.
Yes, by keeping the porch alive, dude.
It was amazing.
I'll see you on the porch in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm sure you're down to find another porch. So, if you are out there listening to this and you're looking for someone to come in on the drop of a hat, that you need to portray somebody like David Stevens.
I prefer to put in the research time.
Of course.
I really, especially if I'm doing an accent or something, I require it. But I really like to dig into it and not just show up and I can wing it. I'm experienced enough that I can wing it. I'm quite good. I've made certain that I can if necessary. Mm-hmm. But I think the level of performance that I give when I'm given time to prepare, I think,
is greater.
Yeah.
If you can get 3 to 6 months on a project to immerse yourself and that's what you're working on.
Darren Dalton and C. Thomas Howell, who you'll probably end up having here.
I would love
a couple
to.
Of friends of ours.
Yeah.
I love listening to them tell the stories of how Francis Ford Coppola prepared for The Outsiders. There was months and months and months of rehearsal where he had the greasers in hotels, the 5-star hotel,
right.
The socias in 5-star hotels,
treating them the way they should be,
and the greasers in the cheapest garbage pit they could find.
Dude, they probably love that.
The socias had leather-bound scripts, and the greasers had recycled paper. They had them playing football games against each other. It was just
no kidding, just to create this you're like
and gave them months to just drop in to these characters, and you see, I think it's one of the most.
It is a great. Well, that explains it. That show's actually talked about in schools right now. It's like taught about. That's an awesome thing, and you help me throw the hook out to those guys and get them on the show.
It's nothing but a phone call, man.
Okay, well, I would love to have them on. And Darren, you introduced me to him back in our time trying to make our way in L.A. together, and he's awesome, dude.
There's almost.
I don't know if.
No, there's almost no words.
I hope he still thinks of me as I think of him.
There's no words good enough to describe him.
Right, you're like, stay here for a little bit.
Amazing human being.
I was like, I'll stay here for a little bit. And Darren's like, I'll probably talk to him about it, but there's that phone call that came in. Ring, 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 ring. He's like, hold on. He answers it. Hey there, Darren. He's like, shh, it's Jack.
Yeah, be quiet.
I was like, I can tell it's Jack, dude. Yeah. And I'm like sitting right here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll get into that. And Darren is also Wolverine from Red Dawn. And C. Thomas Howell's Wolverine from Red Dawn.
Yep.
Drink the blood.
Yep.
Okay, Dave. So.
Is that it?
You know what I think is it?
Time,
what I think it is that I'm going to go a little bit longer because I want to talk about David H. Stevens actor.com.
Oh, okay, good.
May I say that? Can we drop that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, and is it David H. Stevens actor?
That's it. DavidHStevensActor.com. Okay,
so on the bottom of the screen is his website where you can go check it out, and they can reach you through there.
They can reach me there. They can, if they just want to see a a compilation show reel of some of the things
Stuff you've done.
all compiled into one
Sure.
video. There's some great scenes that the great folks at AMC and Steve and David Entertainment have allowed me to kind of keep on my website, showing some of the best scenes from the show are on there. I teach acting classes, and information is there. You can reach me about that. But one of my favorite things I'm doing is called Monday Night at the Movies. If you're invited, and you have show and interest, we starting at the turn of the century, 1900 through 1903 was last Monday.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we're working our way slowly back to the future on I got a big old 100-inch screen,
Sure,
a projector, and a little popcorn, old school popcorn machine.
So you pick an era movies from the.
So we're just starting at the beginning, and we watch the most influential movies. Like we've got George Méliès. Méliès, I'm not sure. It's a French filmmaker from the turn of the century who was hugely influential. He in the 1001 movies you must see before you die has gone through like 9 revisions.
Right.
They still keep that his movie Trip to the Moon, I think is what it's called. They still have it as #1 on the list of 1001 movies. It's like one of those movies. It's like started to define what movies are. The Great Train Robbery is on there, from 1902 or 3. So anyway, we're just starting at the beginning,
And then just working your way all the way till now.
we're going to work, and we're not just focusing on American movies. It's world cinema, influential world cinema on a big screen with fellow movie lovers, and we read a little Wikipedia about it, and we talk about it, and we discuss why it was maybe better than the one why is it better? Why is it worse? What did we like? What did we?
Sure.
It's just a beautiful, and we're gonna take years to get back to the future,
And if you have a
which
suggestion
will be on the list eventually.
for an era, right, Back to the Future, right? If you have a suggestion, you can go ahead and comment down below. And don't forget to go and check out David H. Stevens actor.com. And
They can find me on Twitter at David H. Stevens 5.
okay,
They could find me on Facebook as David H. Stevens.
perfect.
They can find me on Instagram as David H. Stevens Actor.
Okay.
Boom, 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 boom. I'm a social media.
So hit them all up on the social medias. Go check him out right there.
I like to interact. I do. I love answering questions. Obviously, you haven't been able to keep me, get me to shut up this whole time.
Right, which is why I want you back.
I enjoy it, man.
See, on my show, I can bring you back.
Cool.
If I want to get David Stevens back, and we can crack into some other shows that you've done
can
and
keep going.
talk more about how to keep it going, then you have a welcome seat at my table.
Cool. Thank you.
Anytime, David. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day
You're welcome.
to come into the Black Rifle Coffee Studios here, the Ready Man
Yeah.
Studios, where they support me with my SOFREP.com sponsored Fired Up with Rad podcast. I can't say it enough. Thanks to Brandon Webb for believing in me to put this together, and to my wife,
Without the team, man.
the family,
Yeah.
and to you, my brother. And so I want to shake your hand right here. I love you, David. Thank you for being on my show. And to Zach, behind all of the keyboards and the Magic Man back there, thanks so much, bro.
All right, Zach.
All right, Zach. And that's Rad saying peace. Somewhere here on camera.